What was your worst sleepover experience during your childhood? I went over to a friend's house. She lives with her grandparents. Suddenly she refused to let me out of the room. She wouldn't let me go downstairs, she kept making excuses, and wouldn't let me exit at all. I got creeped out and almost called my mom, but she begged me not to go. Eventually we sorta slept. She had the TV on all night, so I couldn't sleep well. Years later it was discovered her grandfather was molesting her. And it turned out that night she noticed he was eyeing us both, so that was the explanation for how the night went down. Friend and I went to another friend's house to sleep the night. We were all mucking around like most 10-year-old boys do, to the point our friend's dad started yelling at his son. Was a little bit awkward and tense, and then my friend told his dad to shut up. So his dad decided his son needed some old school punishment, and made his son pull his pants down, and made us watch as he whipped him a few times on the bare cheeks with his belt. I remember feeling so awkward and embarrassed about it all that the only way I knew how to handle it was to start laughing. The one and only time I slept over at another's house, and late into the night all the other girls started masturbating quotations because they didn't act like they knew what they were doing, seemed they were finding it out for the first time with those squishy spiked ball toys. I just felt really uncomfortable and tried to go to sleep. Went to a girl's sleepover where there were 3 of us. The girl's dad put an audio recorder under the teddies on top of her cupboard when he came in to hand them out. Would have been about 8 years old. We were talking about crushes at school and such. Next day he played the recording out loud to wake us up, laughing and listening closely to what we were talking about, in front of us. They moved away eventually. 14 years later the girl messages me and asks if I remember anything weird happening at that sleepover. I told her what I remembered, and it turned out she was being sexually abused by him. A bit of a weird one, this was more sad than anything. I stayed over at my elementary best friend's almost every week. Their grandmother lived with them and everyone treated her like a burden. They told me she was crazy and mean, but she was always very kind to me, and because I was raised to be nice to my elders, I was kind in return. One day, when my friend had to go talk to her mom about something, the grandma asked me into her room. I had never been in there, and it was decorated completely differently. I could tell she had moved an entire house worth of stuff into one bedroom. I can't remember the whole conversation, but basically she said I was kind, and she really loved talking to me every week, and that her family didn't really let her talk. She gave me a little metal Noah's Ark bracelet, but asked me to hide it from the family. I was scared to wear the bracelet, because I didn't want my friend to get mad, and every time I looked at it, it made me so sad for Nana. I was 12. My supposed best friend's 17-year-old brother played his music very loudly and then shook his junk in my face. My friend and her brother then tied me to a chair and made me watch a Final Destination movie that freaked me out. They then proceeded to laugh their asses off when I woke up in the middle of the night screaming from a nightmare. I'm not friends with her anymore. Not me, but my sister. She was a sleepwalker. She was about 7. Slept over at a friend's house, sleepwalked, woke up in an enclosed space. Panicked. Pushed her arms straight out in front of her against what she thought was a wall in front of her. She had ended up behind a 7-foot tall bureau that was placed diagonally in the corner of the dining room. She pushed it over. It was full of plates, glasses, fine china, etc. It was 4 AM,